My name, Marsha Harris. It's really Marsha Hermine Fennell Harris because I'm named after two special people. Marsha from my grandmother, whose maiden name was Marshall, and Hermine from my father, whose name was Herman. And I um, am a resident of Burnettown. And that's kind of unusual because I tell a story about living in the same place. And at first I said Bath, but if I were to get my mail at my home, it would be Warrenville. So when we were incorporated, I became Burnettown. So when I tell people where I live, I say Bath, Burnettown. I was born in Abbeville County, but my family lived in Anderson County. My parents were educators, and my father was a principal of a Rosenwald school at that time. It was called Gant Rosenwald. It was I always thought it was a 1 through 12th grade school, but I think it might have been 1 through 10th or 11th. We came to Aiken County in 1956 when my father took a job here at Jefferson High School, which was a newly created school. And he was principal of the school the entire years of the school's existence, from 1956 through 1970. We lived in North Augusta, but he liked to live near his schools. And Jefferson High was in Bath. We called it Bath then. So he built a house in front of the school. So when we moved there, I was 15. And so I've been in the Bath community since I was 15. Well, you're asking his daughter.
That's fair. I understand it might be a biased answer.
Exactly. But I think the community will share some of the things that I would say. And I think it was a great legacy because as a person, as an educator, he looked at the strengths of the community that he dealt with. And he worked with trying to help to build those strengths, to recognize those strengths and to build them. Someone told me that my father saw something special in them. And then I've heard that from a lot of folk, that he could look at his students, he could look at his teachers, he could see what they would have to either contribute to the situation or what potential they had, and he would try to help develop that. And I think he did that as an individual. That was the kind of person he was. Now, I didn't understand that until I was a lot older because he was very strict, and I saw that part of him. But I did see that he loved his work. He always went to work early and came home late. He was up at 6 o'clock in the mornings. From when I could remember, he was at the school at 7. And, when we moved to Flint Drive, he could just walk across the street. And he was there until long after the school closed. If there were basketball games or activities, he would be coming home after then. And we addressed the school as a family because my mother was a teacher there. So sometimes when we had afternoon events, if he did come home, we would all go together and we would all come home together. So school was a family and a professional endeavor. I'm thinking perhaps with Jefferson being a Black school, Black segregated school, they were looking at maybe the population of Schofield where the students had been attending and alleviating the crowdedness of that school, and also looking at the travel distance that the students from Jefferson had been attending. Jefferson served students in North Augusta, Midland Valley area, and Beach Island. And those students went to public high school from the time that Schofield was made a public high school until 56.
Wow.
Because the students from Wagner went to Schofield. I have to get my history straight. I'm not quite sure when Schofield became a public school and a part of Aiken County, but it might have been 50, around 1950. Might have been 49 or 50. I know Corbett, A.L. Corbett was the Black high school that was for the Wagner area, and it was built in 53.
Okay.
And our school was built in 56. Now, the schools at that time, the Black schools, and I believe Corbett, we need a historian, but I think Corbett was an equalization school.
Okay.
But I know that Jefferson Elementary was an equalization school. And there were some other elementary schools like Triumph in Belvedere and Sleepy Hollow. And of course, you know, that was, those equalization schools were built in an effort to stall integration or desegregation. When you think about Jefferson, Jefferson was named after an individual, Reverend Austin Jefferson. He was a minister, but he was, I don't believe he pastored a church. I think he was a preacher, but he believed in education. And this is what I'm learning. I don't have first-hand information. He believed in education, and he knew the limited resources of the community. He lived in the Bath area. And I think he worked at Huber Clay Company, and he maybe, I'm thinking, could speak to the powers that be there. And he was able to get resources for the community. And so there was a school on Flint Drive named Langley Bath Colored School. And that school, I think, was established in the 30s. Well, in 1944, it was named Jefferson Grammar. And I think it was from his influence in the community. And so in 1953, when Jefferson Elementary was built, the new school that was built to alleviate the previous situation for Black schools, it was called Jefferson Elementary. And then Jefferson High School was built adjoining Jefferson Elementary, and so it took the name Jefferson High School. So, but my father, with what he brought, Reverend Jefferson, what he had established there, and also I recognize Reverend Nathaniel Irvin, who was also a part of the community. He was a teacher. He was a young teacher in 56, and he and my father met at South Carolina State College then, but it's South Carolina State University now. My father was getting his master's as a principal from Anderson County, and Reverend Irvin was getting his master's as a young man who had not yet taught. I think he worked at State while he was going to school, and he had been in the Army, but my father saw his genius, and they became friends. In fact, Reverend Irvin helped my father with some of his classwork.
Okay.
So my father hired him. In fact, he hired him to go to Anderson County. But at the time, my father came here, and Reverend Irvin was from North Augusta. So Reverend Irvin, with what he brought to the school, and he was there from 56 through 70. And then he went to LBC, and then he retired and became full-time pastor of, in his later years, Old Stone Branch. Well, I talk about Reverend Irvin because he was our mentor when we went to Jefferson. He embraced the students then, and he never let us go. He mentored us through his life until his death. So when I'm going back to the first question you asked about what did the community expect, the community had a dream, and the dream was fulfilled through, I think, those three persons. Reverend Jefferson, I think he was born in the late 19th century. My father, who was born in 1910, and Reverend Irvin, who was born sometimes later. So three, I'm going to say, generations of men who worked together, who had the same goal, purpose, and they didn't know it. It was God. I feel that their relationship and what happened to Jefferson was divine. It was divine. It was divine for the community. Now, they were all looking for what was best. And that's the genius, because my father hired extremely talented teachers and individuals to work in the school. And they did what the community hoped they would do. Yes, Jefferson was a small school. I'm saying the high school might have been 600 students. That was the high school. 600 or 700 students. In the later years, the population, the enrollment decreased because some of the students chose to go to previously white schools, so there was desegregation, and then I think maybe some of the schools desegregated in the county before others, and so, but that school produced tremendous talent. And so we didn't see that when I was in high school because I was right there.
One of the tremendous talent.
But that's what happened. But we had, what I remember about the school then was most of the teachers had to also have a sponsor an extracurricular activity. And my father was very competitive. He wanted our clubs to compete regionally and statewide. And he wanted us to win. He wanted first place to come back. Now, I think maybe, and you're causing me to maybe come with some new things.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted it because he knew the students could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Now that he wanted it because he wanted to be, he wanted to achieve, but he thought his students could do it. But he also brought the teachers that he thought could help the students.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't know what kind of students he would have.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was just a man who was looking for the best in people. And he found a tremendous array of talent here for this little school that had not had opportunities. I don't think anybody, I don't think Schofield, I don't think Laney, I don't think those big schools around us expected what we produced. Okay, now, what did we produce? Now, we had a lot of educators. Our students became principals, a lot of teachers.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of nurses. And we were talking about a time when we couldn't do a lot,
Mm-hmm.
okay? The opportunities weren't there. And, but they took advantage of what we had. But anyway, I'll go back. We had, after me, we had the superintendent, one of Dr. Lark, who was superintendent in Richmond County in Augusta, was in the class of 65. Dr. Robertson, Frank Robinson, attended Jefferson Junior High and Jefferson Elementary. Now, he was younger, so he didn't attend Jefferson High School. We have dentists, we have veterinarians, we have medical doctors. This was 16 years of existence in this small community. We had a student who taught at West Point. We have lawyers. We have supervisors. We had, of course, mill workers. We had farmers. We had the rim, okay? We had the rim. And we had those who worked in the clay mines. We had all that. But now, here's what I want to say about the people who may have worked in lesser paying jobs. A lot of them worked in jobs, but they had goals for their children. And their children progressed. So, and I mustn't forget the military. We had military officers. We had, of course, those who were enlisted and came out. We had enlisted, I can't think of, we had those enlisted personnel of high rank. Okay, so I'm talking about achievement.
Of course.
I'm talking about using the resources that you have to do the best you can. And I'm also talking about parents who finished high school, went to work, and helped their children to achieve better. So at that time, it was a progression. It was a progression of achievement. in an unexpected way for this community.
Yeah.
Now the school was a great facility. It was a great facility, but the extracurricular activities, the money that was needed for that was not provided. It was gained through the ingenuity of my father and the PTA, the parents sharing whatever resources they had, and my father trying to get from the community. Now I can remember, now here's what I remember, textile mills were there. And I can remember that for LBC, they had a ball field. I think that was provided by I think it was United Merchants now. You'll have to get somebody else. But my father, what he was able to get was $100. Now, I'm 13 or 14 years old, so this may not be true. But I know every year he could get $100 for the Miss Jefferson contest to provide funds for whatever they were working on. And it might have been to build a football field. So what he did with the football field, they had a field there. And I think he had the agriculture department built the bleachers. And I think he got lighting installed from some soldiers at Fort Gordon. And with whatever monies that the PTA and whatever resources he could get, but he had to work for that. It wasn't, nothing was given. It was his power that brought the band. He liked band. I think we had a band. I think it was in the band in the 8th grade. And so he brought that to the community. He had football, we had basketball, we had new farmers, we had new homemakers, we had the Honor Society, we had the Student Council. Those were the things that helped to develop the heart and soul of the people, of the students. But it was by the grace of God that those things could be implemented and their success could come through. So it was the people. It was not the facility. It was a great facility and we needed that. But the facility in 56, it was a long time coming. And it was not what we need. It was not all of what we needed. But we needed other resources that were not given, but were obtained through the people. And our students received it. They received what the adults were giving. Now, I'm not going to say that every student, including me, appreciated what my father was doing. Not then. But we came to appreciate it. Most people, even if, nobody likes everybody all the time, but we can see what they were doing. Now, when we look back, we can see that, what is it like? Your father is a principal. I had a twin sister, and so that was another dimension, going to school with a twin sister. I have a younger brother. He's just 2 years younger, so he was in school with us too. And maybe each one of us would have a different viewpoint.
Of course.
My mother was a home economics teacher. So, at that time, married couples could work together, when my father came to get a job here, then it was kind of expected, I guess, that she would get a job, and she did. They had worked together in Anderson County. But however, my mother was a elementary principal before she left Anderson County. She was a home economics teacher at Gant Rosenwald. And then during the time of the equalization schools, and I haven't researched Anderson County, but I believe in '53 they built Gant Elementary, and she became the principal there. So she left that principalship, which she enjoyed, to come to Aiken County because my father was coming. It was family. We all came together.
Of course.
Now, I'll go back to Anderson County because that's the foundation.
Yeah.
I grew up there being just a part of the community, okay? We weren't thought of as anything special. Our parents were educators. My father was the principal, but we weren't the children, I thought, were just a part of the community. So when I came to Jefferson, it was a little different because I felt that everybody knew each other, and I was coming in as a new person, not knowing, not having friends already established there. So that was it wasn't a handicap, and I'm not sure I ever talked about it, but I did feel that. But I never felt, privileged as a principal's child. Now, as I look at as an adult, I probably was, but I never felt that way. I felt myself as just another student, and I did have some friends, and I don't think I know the friends, they never separated us out as principals' children as being privileged or anything. What I think sometimes I think this, if we were always known, everybody knew us, 3 children, 2 were twins, So I think when some people saw what we were doing, they knew they could do it too. So I think it might have been motivation. And I think when younger students really saw older students doing things, they felt they could do it. So it was that kind of thing. Now I was my mother was a home economics teacher, so somehow they discovered some leadership. I'm not sure when, but like I said, my parents could, they were always looking for students and what they could do. Now with the new homemakers, there was a lot of competition, a lot of state participation in the club. And my mother would always find a girl who could speak to be in the speaking contest. She found those who could sew, and we had a local NHA club, a district NHA club, and a state NHA club. So somehow I was selected to run for a district office. I was selected to run for district president of the New Homemakers. And there was a supervisor. She was a white supervisor named Miss Jane Wyman. And when I became the district president, she mentored me. She showed me how to carry out a meeting and preside. And she was just, she was very supportive. In fact, that's what I wanted to do. When I finished, I majored in home economics. If we're talking about my experience with school, my mother was a home economics teacher. She taught us to sew. I became involved with the new homemakers. So I really loved that leadership responsibility in the new homemakers. And I saw Miss Wyman work. And what I wanted to do when I finished high school was to be a home economics supervisor. That's what I wanted. So, but that will carry us to another story. But I did major in home economics, by the way.
Very good.
But I didn't stay in the field.
Oh, well, it's their own.
But we can go back to that. But also, I was vice president of student council and president of student council. And also I was president of the junior class. So I had a lot of leadership opportunities. And Reverend Irvin was the advisor to the student council. And that's where I first saw, that's our first relationship. And what I really remember about that, we went to a convention, a state student council convention. And we used to have assembly programs at school. And when we came back from the convention, it was time for the student council to have an assembly program. And he asked me to write a speech, to give a report about the meeting, to present to the student body. And he let me do that without instruction from him. He depended on me to do that. And I did it. And I just thought, see, that was some confidence to let me write that speech independently and present it. So he was always a supporter. And what I would say to young people is that you may have supporters that you don't realize are really helping you. And I didn't realize it at that time. It was well into my adulthood that I realized what Reverend Irvin did for me. I know he loved his students and he mentored them and he encouraged it. And in my almost senior adulthood, I realized what he was doing for me among that. But I believe that all the students can say that. They will say, well, what Reverend Irvin did for me, and they will also say what my father did for them, and they will also say what some teacher did for them, because many of our students have a favorite teacher, and they can say what that teacher did, and they will say, well, that teacher helped me get a job, or that teacher helped me go to college, or that teacher did this or that. It made a difference in my life. So, but as a student, that was your question, what was it like for me? I guess I tried to be a regular student and not be entitled because I was a principal's child. And I feel that I had a great relationship in school with other people. Yeah. Okay, well, it was a segregated community. The Midland Valley area was a textile mill area and clay mines. Now, I didn't know much about the clay mines. I knew about the mills. Um, the people there who were working in the mills had menial jobs. They didn't have the best jobs when I was in school. They began to get maybe better jobs in the late 60s, 70s.
Okay.
So it was a poor area. There was, what was it like? School and church and community of people who lived together, and they may have been on family land. There were not a lot of educational, recreational facilities for Black people in the community. Now, for my family, we went to Augusta to some activities. We attended many events at Payne College. And so we got some cultural experiences through Payne College, but a lot of the cultural venues were not open to Black people in Augusta. So when you think about what our students achieved, it was in a limited cultural environment, but it was a rich social environment among ourselves, among Black people. There was church, school, and the land on which people lived in their own communities. And that's where the life was.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't know a lot about, I didn't know a lot about the separation. I grew up, that was the way life was. And my parents kind of sheltered us from the real tragedy of that experience. Now, what I will say, my father experienced some of it, and part of what he wanted, this, and I'm speaking as a student, as a child, as a child in the family, and looking at him as an educator and as a person. He knew that times were changing, and he wanted his students and his personal children to be ready for the change. So he was kind of, he was strong, but as a professional, as a teacher then, he had to know his place. He had to maneuver between how to get what he needed for his students in a situation that didn't care about the students. Now, I can say this. Now, somehow he was able to work with his supervisors. I guess they knew his strengths, and somehow he was able to do the things he did. Now, one thing about that era, you might have to ask for someone else, but I'm thinking at that time, if he handled the school, they didn't. They were content.
I see.
I finished high school in 62. I went to college and I finished in 66. And I came back to Augusta and taught home economics. And it was in a segregated situation. And the schools in Aiken County integrated in 70. My father became the principal of the junior high. The facility became a junior high school.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the first principal. I think he was a principal for about 2 years. His job in the transition, as I see it,
Mm-hmm.
was to try to make it as smooth and uncomplicated for the Black students to go to the white schools as possible. Now, he was in Area 3,
Okay.
so that's where he worked. His job was to try to prepare, and it might have been different ways. What the white people were expecting and what the Black people were expecting would be different.
Mm-hmm.
Because, okay, this is just me.
Okay.
I'm thinking that what the white people were wanting, the educators
Mm-hmm.
wanted to follow state rules without disruption or violence. And they wanted the Black students to be able to come into the situation without what they may perceive as bringing harm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and his job was to prepare them in terms of white.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I think my father was, he knew the situation and he wanted to prepare his students to be able to achieve in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would say this, my father, and you will talk, and when I listened to some of the white administrators, they talked about how peaceful the transition was.
Mm-hmm.
When I talked to students who were in the transition, they felt betrayed and neglected because the situation which they went in was very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So they have more negative feelings about the transition
Mm-hmm.
than I feel that some of the adults that I heard from had. Now, I'm thinking about me as a teenager and young adult,
Mm-hmm.
and I will also say that through my insulation, I missed some of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And in 70, I was working at a Black school, teaching home economics, and I was transferred to a white junior high. It was junior high at the time. I was working at a Black junior high. I was transferred to a white junior high when only faculty were transferred.
Mm-hmm.
And the school I went to, I think there were more Black teachers there than Black students.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure when they fully integrated in Richmond County. I left to spend a year, to have a daughter and spend a year with her. And when I came back, I came to Aiken County.
Okay.
And I came as an elementary teacher,
Mm-hmm.
needing a job. I was certified through examination. I told you I was a home ec major. So they needed someone to teach elementary. And I taught at Bath Grammar. And I became certified through examination. And I discovered that I needed to know more about what I was doing. I didn't intend to stay in elementary,
Mm-hmm.
but I did. So as I remained in elementary, and especially reading, I needed to study more, and I did. And so when I came to Aiken County, it was it was integrated.
Mhm.
I taught fourth grade integrated situation, and I just thought it was, I was just teaching. I mean, you know, when I came to, I always, I don't know, I guess I was kind of, I don't know, it was kind of show. It's kind of funny because my brother has a different perspective. He's 2 years younger, and you know, people are different, and he has a different perspective. But I just kind of felt that people were people. I was naive. I learned differences later.
Mhm.
I have a different opinion than I have, I mean, now than I had then.
Mhm.
But teaching the students, no problem. I remember my fourth grade class there was one of the best ones that I have had. But early in my career, I think I thought whatever I was doing was a good thing.
Mhm.
You know, I enjoyed it. Now, not every year was a good year.
That is true with all teachers.
But for the most part, I enjoyed it. And I did not, as a teacher, separate my students.
Mhm.
You know, well, I think I had my awakening about some of the difficulty Black educators have was when I became an assistant principal.
Mhm.
Now, I don't know, I cannot say why, but I do feel that some of the experiences that I had were colored by my color.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you, as an assistant principal, I was at Jefferson Elementary. Now I'll tell you, I enjoyed being there for this reason. I thought about what my teachers had done and what they had tried to do for their students. And I tried to bring that to the students that I was involved with.
Mhm.
I went there as curriculum specialist.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to help to develop the curriculum into one that was strong. I'm not sure I know I wasn't able to do all that I wished. I don't think I really understood the role of assistant principal and how that impacted with my personality. So that might have been some of my problem. But that was where I had difficulty. Now, with the parents, with white parents, I think I tried to bring the truth as a teacher to what I saw the children learning. And I talked with parents, and sometimes in the beginning, they didn't believe what I was saying a lot of times, if it was a problem. But somehow we worked it, and I think a lot of times we could come together. But I didn't see it as a racial thing. It might have been, but I saw it as interaction between an educator who saw something in their students, and the parents who saw something in their children. And at the beginning, we worked together, and that might have happened with. I don't remember it happening as much with Blacks parents. Now, see, the Black community may have known me more better and trusted that I would do what was right. You know.
Yeah, I understand that.
So when you know people, you can do better. You have to know people. I have learned that now is that some of our difficulty is because we don't know each other as different races. We don't know how we act individually as Black people and as white people. If we talk together and we learn each other's perspective, we can do better. But if we don't talk, we're going to hold perceptions that may not be accurate, and we're going to go further apart.
Yeah.
So my relationship was through education, through the schools. It was sheltered. It was sheltered in regards to race. I didn't have any white friends. That was just not my world. The white people, when I was growing up, it was like the relationship my father had as an educator with them through education. We had, he may have interacted. I did not. I did not as a teenager. I really didn't as a young adult working. My relationship with white people was through my position as an instructor. Out of school, I did not have any relationship. And I did not have, and I, with the Black people, it was through church, mostly through church. And so that was our social interaction. I didn't feel affected by the mills because my employment wasn't coming from there. And I may not have understood what the mills were contributing to the people. And I really may not have understood that a lot of the Black people who were still there were working in jobs that were not progressive for them. I was kind of isolated as an individual. I was a part of it as an educator. And this is just because I went to church in Augusta. I did a lot of things. My social things occurred in Augusta.
Okay.
So other than some church, I didn't interact a lot socially in this area. So, I came back to work in a bar, and I worked the remainder of my career in Area 3.
Nice.
So the schools changed. Bath, I think, became a school. First it was 1 through 3, I think, and I went to Burnettown, which was 4 through 6, I think. And then reorganization with the schools, and I went to LBC and taught 6th grade. And then after that, I went to Jefferson Elementary and Gloverville as assistant principal for curriculum. Then at Jefferson, then I went back. I went back to the classroom. Now, it was not a smooth transition, but that's my career.